what kinds of access and advocacy efforts are members voicing their greatest concerns?
I think, as John said, what technology is, and Gabo started with technology being a tool and resource, and that I don't think it's unique just technology. We're talking about language teaching materials, access to those resources. We're talking about access to professional learning in certain parts of the world and good quality professional learning. So I think it's just not in relation to the current time. I think access, and we have has always, or issue of access has always been there and addressed differently depending on the associations. And one issue with access is the time zones, right? I mean, if I say this is the biggest challenge for the global community of ELT professionals to kind of collaborate in because of the time zones. And is this access, and how do we do things? When do we offer certain things online, and who do we have to get on board? I don't know. I haven't been following the chat how many different parts of the world we have, but I wonder who is still in the pajamas and who's already in pajamas, but at the end of the day to watch this webinar. So so the access, that's the key thing that I kind of observed during the pandemic and the challenge of that. But of course, access to technology and the resources that are available in different parts of the world, has been done differently. Some teachers were just teaching using WhatsApp, and some teachers were using, Zoom and Rooms. Here in the Czech Republic, I've observed the differences across schools and the principals, how they responded and what kind of support the teachers had. Number one, and providing technology to the teachers, and then at the end you have the learners and their access to technology. And I thought, there was a great example of a school where the principal said, we have this technology, we'll have it here, and the kids can come here and kind of use it during the daytime when the teachers are online. So there were different ways, I think, how different schools and organizations handled the access, making sure that learning doesn't stop. But I'm sure, and we don't have the numbers, I'm sure there are a large number of learners around the world who lost access to education and quality education due to the pandemic. So we as an association have been talking about some of the things. I think there's a number of issues, but I often think that it's in the local context that the things need to be sorted out, and what is the best possible way in this local content, and who are the leaders here, and what can we do, and how can we advocate for our learners. Here in the Czech Republic is very different from Latin America and Asia. And I don't know, Gabo, in your neck of the woods, I don't know what the situation is like.
Yeah, Gabo, let's go to you. What are you seeing globally through the organization's eyes, but then maybe tell us a little bit about locally in Latin America.
Yeah, people think of Latin America as a block, and it's actually a very diverse and very diversified region where you can see different things happen just by crossing a street. You cross a border sometimes, and the two countries have completely different realities. Here we have countries that have already gone back to face-to-face teaching full-time with no social distancing rules, whereas other countries are still grappling on how to provide learners and teachers access to education. So it's a very complex situation. But what I think that is surfacing here is a unique opportunity for us as international associations who actually thrive on the work of our membership, who are the representatives of the profession, to start collecting case studies, to start collecting information as to how have you done it. We are just seeing very incipient research projects, mostly numerical, that have to do with how many students could access the technology, how many didn't. Now we need to see what the teachers have done. We are creative animals, teachers. We are incredibly resourceful, and I'm sure that we all have anecdotes of that particular teacher who would go out just 2 hours before the curfew started on her bike, distributing handouts, paper handouts around the houses of her students. And we have all those stories. Now, the pandemic has to be told in two kinds of stories of resilience, but also stories of hope. And I think those little actions, those everyday little actions that our colleagues have been implementing for the benefit of their students are what gives us hope as a profession, right?
I think we tend to we tend to lose track of the fact that, yes, technology is a tool and that teaching is teaching. And that no matter how sophisticated the technology is, the basic principles of teaching language remain embedded in the professional development of teachers. And those are key. And as we look at, the future of technology and artificial intelligence, one can wonder, will teachers be replaceable by robots? I don't know, in artificial intelligence. But I'm convinced, and I think my colleagues here are also convinced, that no artificial intelligence will ever replace a good teacher.
I agree completely, Rosa. I remember when I first started teaching, I was told that the computer with a printer would mean we would never have paper again. It would all be on a computer. And then, when the sort of multimedia learning came online, that would replace the teacher. These are tools that teachers have embraced and yes, continue to use to develop and improve their teaching. The only other aspect which I'd quite like to bring into this technology aspect is, both for learners and for teachers, it's also been a huge challenge in terms of sitting here in front of this screen with a camera on our own, and what the impact, I think we're just beginning to scrape the surface of the impact on learners and also of teachers in terms of their mental health, their well-being. And I think that's an incredibly important subject that we have a responsibility to be aware of and to investigate and share and enable teachers to benefit from what we learn as a community to support each other as well, because it has had an impact on us all. We see that with the kids learning in the schools and the impact on them, and the lack of communication and the lack of ability to share and to be a community. And I think that's also true to a certain extent with teachers too. Yes, it's been great in terms of technology, being able to sit here and talk to people on the other side of the world, but that human contact is also really important too, and that's something I think we've all missed, and we're looking forward to returning. So yeah, you sort of take with one hand and take away with the other.
Hey, John, but I'll jump in, because it's sitting here, and now I'm back in the classroom teaching, and what there's this group of students that I only saw online in those boxes, and I still, when I talk to them in the class, I still have them framed in that, Zoom box, and so I'm now transitioning back to the classroom, and it's even that is happening in certain parts of the world. And I think that recognizing how the new challenges that come with the transition back, and still the unknown whether we're going to stay in the classroom or not, which are some of the things that we all face. And we're still in the pandemic, and it's impacting us. Now it looks like we're still online. As I said, I was in the classroom, and it's weird to be there after a year of, and how it's like I haven't been in a car, driving a car for a year, and it's like you're discovering the being on the road again and driving in that environment and working with the students. So it is true that we were sitting, and I'm standing now, and it's still challenging as much as it was in the online world, looking for the best possible for the learners.